Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. I'm so excited to get started with you guys, and I hope to teach you a couple of valuable things and to teach you that you are in control of your life and that your beliefs and thoughts are the power to everything. So you can either use them to work for you or against you, but ultimately you do have a choice. So that's what I'm going to be going over today. I'm going to go over our beliefs and how they're formed, as well as I'll touch base on the topic of the subconscious mind, and also I'll talk about how we can do a couple of different exercises to help us change our negative beliefs into positive ones. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'll give you a little bit background about me and why I'm here, why I decided to become a rapid transformational therapist. So my background is I worked as a psychiatric nurse for a couple of years, and through my experience as a psychiatric nurse, I realized that a lot of the problems that people were facing was that they were taking medications or finding treatments to help treat the condition, but at only a surface level. So when you're only treating things at a surface level, you're not getting to the core or the root of the problem, and therefore people have to continue to come back to get treatment. And it made me really think, like, if we have these problems and we want to really fix it, we need to figure out a way to get to the core of it instead of just getting a Band-Aid treatment for the issue, because ultimately that doesn't work and you will have to continue to do the treatment. And of course, even with doing internal work, you always have to continue to do the work. But what if you can treat yourself naturally without the use of medications and still improve your life dramatically? So that's kind of how I got started with RTT, and that's why I decided to become a therapist instead of staying in the field of nursing, because I really wanted to work with people one-on-one to help them get to the core of their problem. And my history goes back a little bit, even a little more, because I suffered depression since I was a teenager. It's something I struggled with up until maybe about 2 years ago. It was something that was very prevalent and pervasive in my life. And so through my own struggles, I never took any medications. I saw a psychologist maybe about 4 or 5 times, and I noticed that they didn't really help me in any way to make me feel better. So I decided to go on this journey to discover how I can become happier by myself. So I read a lot of self-development books, and one of my favorite books, the first book that I read that really made a huge impact on me, was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If you guys haven't read that book, it's a really amazing book, and it just talks about focusing on the present, because the present is the only moment that we have. A lot of us tend to live in the past or worry about the future, and when you think about it, that's what causes a lot of our unhappiness. So when we're in the present and we're fully here, we don't have to let our thoughts take over our life. And so that's why I really like that book. And the one takeaway I got from the book was that just a small shift in your perception can completely change your life. So that's why I think it's so important to work on your mindset and really master yourself through doing the work that's necessary to master your mindset. And that's why I decided to do this webinar on beliefs and thoughts and how they influence us and affect our life. And so like I was saying, as I overcame my own mindset, as I learned to develop new positive habits that were supporting me instead of destroying my life, I noticed that things were starting to really change and shift in my life, and things started to just work out really amazingly. And I realized that there is so much more to life than suffering and being a victim to our thoughts. We're all here for a reason, and you're here for a reason right now watching this video because something motivated you to learn more about yourself and find value in something that will expand your mind so that you can change and start creating the life of your dreams. So, like I said, the mindset is the most important factor in everything. It's absolutely changed my life, and it can do the same for you if you're open to it and if you're willing to put in the work. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to go over is our beliefs. So what are beliefs? A belief is a feeling of certainty about what something means. So our beliefs tend to form and develop from the past. It's usually a generalization of the past, something that might have happened. It could have been something in our environment, an event that happened. It could have resulted from knowledge someone taught us. Again, past results, so like past failures or past successes, and also beliefs form from your beliefs about your future visions. And beliefs are the blueprint to your life, and they basically create the map and guides us towards our goals, and it gives us the power to either accomplish our goals or to not accomplish them depending on how you use that belief. And sometimes beliefs can be subconscious and we're not aware of them, and they might have been ingrained really early on in our childhood years, and we're just not aware of them, but they are still influencing our life. So with RTT, you can actually kind of go back into past memories and kind of figure out when a certain belief might have formed, and then that way you can change your perspective on it and then free yourself from that belief. So, like I mentioned earlier, most beliefs are just generalizations because your mind processes so much information all the time. So when certain things happen, it's going to make a generalization, and then it's going to store that, and sometimes you'll store it into a belief, and that belief may either be serving you or not serving you. And so beliefs can either empower you or disempower you depending on how you let them affect you. So we want to talk about, beliefs that we're aware of. So these might be things that you know, but you're not really doing anything about it. So it might be a belief like, oh, I can never make that much money, or I'm not pretty enough. Whatever it is, these beliefs are actually disempowering you and holding you back from doing all the amazing things that you want to do. So in turn, of course, we also have positive beliefs as well. Like, I'm really good at, for me, I was a really good nurse, and I was really good at starting IVs on patients. So I have this belief and confidence that I'm capable as a nurse. So again, beliefs can either empower you or disempower you, and the great thing about this is that you have the choice to either let them empower you or disempower you, and we'll go into it a little bit more later on about how we can use beliefs to empower you instead of disempowering you. And the next thing about beliefs is that it causes a physical reaction in your body. So any thought that you think or any belief that you have will cause a physical reaction in your body. So to back this up, I want to talk about the placebo effect, and I'm sure most of you know what it is. You're familiar with the general idea of the placebo effect, and this just shows you that the power of the mind is so incredible, and we might not really understand how the placebo effect works, but it works, so that's what's important. And so the placebo effect, there's a research article done by Dr. Bruce Moseley, and he did a placebo surgery on some of his patients. So he had about 180 patients. They all had osteoarthritis, and so for some of the patients, he did the actual surgery, and the other half of this patients, I don't know the exact numbers, you'll have to do some research on it, but the other half, he did a placebo surgery where he just cut open the knee and didn't perform the actual surgery and just sewed it up. And what he came to find was that the results were the same whether they had the actual surgery or they had the placebo surgery. So that in itself is proof that, the power of the mind is so incredible, because these patients didn't know whether they had the actual surgery or the placebo surgery. So something like this is just really fascinating and really cool, right? Because you really don't realize the magnitude of your mind until you see something like this. It's almost like a miracle in a sense, but really it's just the power of your thoughts in your mind and what you choose to believe in. So remember that you have a choice when it comes to your beliefs and what you choose to allow into your life, and whether or not you want to let the beliefs empower you or disempower you. And when you think about beliefs, you are your beliefs, and your beliefs become you. So we have to be really mindful about what type of beliefs we are forming and what we are letting these beliefs allow us to do or not allow us to do. So I'm going to go over a quick example with you guys. So don't mind the other stuff, we'll go over that later, but so we're just going to focus on this little corner right here. So the cycle of you and your beliefs is basically that you may think a thought and then it will in turn become a belief, and then that belief will then end up becoming you. So the cycle is always working, right? You're constantly thinking new thoughts, and then the more you think these thoughts, the more you ingrain them in your head, and then that in turn causes, it to become a belief. And then if you believe something for so long, it really becomes who you are. So we really want to make sure that we are feeding ourselves positive and motivating and empowering thoughts instead of negative and disempowering thoughts, because with this cycle you are either creating more disempowerment or more empowerment. So what option would you like to choose? I know that I want to choose more empowering and positive thoughts so that I can create beliefs that help me to reach my goals and give me the empowerment to take action to reach my goals. So just be really mindful about your beliefs and how you can use it for for yourself, and how you can let it help you instead of not helping you and creating turmoil in your life, because nobody likes that, right? And so now I want to go into a really great exercise that I discovered. It's an exercise I found by Lisa Nichols. She's a motivational coach and speaker, and she has a really amazing content. And her story is really great because she was a single mother, and she didn't have it together for a really, really long time. But at one point in her life, she decided to change the way that she thought and change her beliefs. And now in turn, she's an amazing inspirational coach and speaker. And she's someone who didn't grow up with money or, have the support that a lot of people did, but she still made it. So that in itself is a great example of, whatever you set your mind to, you can accomplish and do. So going into this exercise, it's basically what you want to do is you want to identify your negative beliefs and then reframe those beliefs into more positive beliefs. So I created a little T-chart here. So on the left side is a negative belief or thought, and then on the right side is a positive belief or thought. So on the left side, what you want to do is you want to write down all of the negative beliefs that you have about yourself. So anything negative, anything that is, really weighing you down, just write it all down. And this list might take a while. I know for me, when I did the exercise, I filled up like 4 pages, and it might be a little bit emotional, but once you get it down on paper, I'm going to show you how you can reframe that belief so that it's something that helps you out throughout your life and empowers you. So, for example, what you're going to do is you'll write down the negative belief. So, let's say I feel like I'm not good enough, right? So, I would write down I'm not good enough. And then on the right side, I would reframe that belief into something positive. So, if on my left side it says I'm not good enough, I'm going to cross that out with either a red marker or something that is very eye-catching, so you know that you're crossing out this belief. You're not allowing it to be in your life anymore because it is not serving you. And then you want to rewrite this belief into something positive. So if my negative belief was I'm not good enough, I'm going to rewrite something like I am good enough. I always have been and I always will be. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through all of your negative beliefs, cross them all out, and then rewrite them into a positive belief or statement. And you can use these positive statements to read to yourself every day, and you can use them as positive affirmations. That's really powerful because it helps to ingrain the new beliefs. Like I said earlier, it's kind of, this you equal your belief system. So the more you say these positive thoughts and the more you think them, eventually it's going to become your belief. And, I know you might not feel it in the beginning, but just fake it until you make it. And eventually you will get to the point where you fully believe these positive thoughts. And I can tell you that from experience because I used to be this very insecure girl who was living in fear all of the time, and it was not fun. But, the more I did things to empower myself, something like this exercise, the more I came into my own power and realized that, hey, I am an amazing person and I can accomplish a lot of things. So hopefully that exercise is really helpful for you guys. It's one of my favorite exercises. So again, when it comes to your beliefs, what you want to do is you want to install empowering and positive beliefs that's going to give you the power and confidence to do what you need to do to reach your goals in life, okay? And now I want to talk about the subconscious mind. So what is the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is basically a big memory bank that stores all your beliefs, memories, and life experiences. And this information that is stored can either, it affects your behaviors and actions in different situations. So like I mentioned earlier, when you have a belief, usually it's either formed from the past or early on in your childhood years. So when you have these beliefs, when a certain situation that might come up, you're going to behave in a certain way because of that belief. So for example, let's say when I was a young girl, I had to do a presentation in front of my class, and it turned out really bad, and all the kids ended up making fun of me. So now I have this fear that speaking in public is not safe. So every time I have to do a presentation at work or at school, I start to get anxious and fearful, and I start sweating and, just feeling really, really bad because I have this fear. It's ingrained in me. It stems from that belief that it's not safe to speak in public because other people will make fun of me and I'll feel rejected, right? So that's kind of how the subconscious mind works. Something happens and then it becomes a belief, and then it's stored in your memory bank. And another example might be like if you have a lack of confidence at some point in life, maybe this could result from people as well. So, I don't know, maybe you were bullied as a child, or maybe, your family always told you that you weren't confident, or whatever it was. It could be so many different scenarios. But the point is, you develop this, belief that you don't have any confidence. So you keep telling yourself that over and over again. And anytime you go into any situation, you're just like, no, I can't do it. I'm not confident enough. Or when you meet someone really confident, you're like, oh, I wish I could be like that person because they're so confident. So this belief is ingrained in your mind, and then it makes you feel like you're in danger in specific situations when you're really not. So when this happens, you kind of end up activating the fight or flight response, and that's why you get like really nervous and anxious and all of those feelings. And so when we're talking about the subconscious mind, it really affects a lot of different areas in our life, and the four most important is wealth, health, relationships, and mindset. And my focus is on mindset, because once you learn to control your mindset and use it to work for you, it's really incredible, all the things that start happening in your life. And you start to see life from a different view, and it's quite amazing, because I remember when I had depression and low self-esteem and I was insecure about myself, like everywhere I went, there was like, a cloud hanging over my head. And when I looked at the world, it was just like, it was almost like it was very foggy, There's all this fog around me, nothing was like beautiful or amazing. Like I was just in a dark place, and not a lot of people really understood it, and I didn't really share it with a lot of people. But when you learn to master your mindset, shift your perception, and change your beliefs about your world, your reality, as well as the external environment, like it's just really amazing. Because I can say that, for one of my first moments that I ever really felt really connected to being in the present was, when I was at the beach in Hawaii, and I opened my eyes and I just looked at the amazing scenery in front of me. And I was fully present, right? I saw like all the wonderful, vibrant colors of the beach and the trees, and I saw the light shining through the trees, and I felt the amazing breeze on my face and skin, and the sound of the ocean waves and the birds chirping. Like you can live in that moment every single moment of your life. So it's really incredible. Once I was able to shift my perception, I was able to remove that cloud from my life and see the world in the beautiful, vibrant light that it really is. So you can do that too. All you have to do is to start mastering your mindset. So the subconscious mind, going back to that, so how we learn to control it and to talk with it and to dialogue with it is by feeding ourselves positive thoughts and beliefs. So your subconscious mind lives in the present tense. So you always need to speak to it as if it was right now. So this is why affirmations are really powerful, because you're speaking in the present moment. So, for example, you are saying something like, I am powerful, I am abundant, life is easy for me, money flows easily to me. So these are all really great affirmations to repeat to yourself, and the more you say it, the more you focus on it. And the more you focus on these thoughts and beliefs, the more it's going to be ingrained in your memory bank and stored in your subconscious, and in turn start working for you. And so the other thing is, the subconscious mind responds to really powerful words. So you want to use extremely powerful words, and you also want to be very clear and specific on what you want. So make sure whenever you're writing down these affirmations that you are, using extremely strong and powerful words. And these words are different for everyone, because something might sound amazing to me, but it might not have that same effect on you. So use words that really encourage you and inspire you. And the subconscious mind's job is to work for you. However, your job is to dialogue with it so that it can help you. And like I was saying earlier, so we'll just kind of review the steps here. Your subconscious mind lives in the present tense, and it responds to powerful words. And when speaking with it, you need to be very clear and very specific. And you also need to repeat it all the time. It's like when you're trying to build a new habit, you have to repeat it all the time until it's really ingrained, and then it becomes easy and effortless, and you don't even have to think about it, Like, I'm sure every morning when you wake up, you don't think about going to brush your teeth, you kind of just automatically do it. So we can do that with our thoughts and our beliefs as well. And when you're talking to your subconscious mind, you want to make sure that you're not using conflicting beliefs. So when you're using conflicting beliefs, this can kind of stop it from doing what you want it to do. So a conflicting belief is something like, I want to lose weight, but I love eating junk food, right? A lot of us are like that. And the more you say that, the more your subconscious mind is conflicted, and then it doesn't know what to do, because on one hand you want one thing, on the other you want another thing. So you have to change your statement into something like, I want to lose weight and I love eating healthy food. So don't even think about the negative statement or whatever it is that's holding you back. You just want to change whatever that statement is to something that is going to work for you and not against you. And again, when talking with the subconscious mind, I know it's a habit and it's normal for a lot of us to focus on negative thoughts. And I used to be like that. I still am like that sometimes, when I'm doing a lot of things, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Like, we're always our own worst critic, but you really have to master the art of learning to focus on the positive things in life and focusing on positive thoughts, because whatever you focus on, that's what you get in life, and you are the creator of your own reality, so you get to choose. And I'm sure that you want to choose positive thoughts and things that help you and not disempower you. And I know it's easier said than done. That's why we have to, learn it and develop it into a habit, because most of us are wired to think negatively all the time. And the other thing is, you want to make sure you're focusing on the things that you want and not the things that you don't want. So if something bad is happening, I'm not saying to just live in la la land all the time and avoid all the negative situations that come up, but you really have to think about what the negative situation is teaching you. So that's a really great way to help reframe your mind, because things will happen and life isn't, just a straight way up. It's kind of like messy, and there's a lot of things that will come up for us that we have to face and have to deal with, and sometimes they're not wonderful situations. So it's just learning to kind of ride the wave in a positive light instead of letting the wave drown you, right? So always focus on what you want, focus on positive thoughts, and the more you do this, the easier it will become. So now that we have a general idea about our beliefs and how we can use them to work for us instead of against us, we really want to focus on how we can actually do it and apply it and use it in our life. So the biggest and the most important thing is that our mind always loves what's familiar. And It doesn't like things that are unfamiliar, because unfamiliar means that we're not safe. And that makes us, and it puts us in a fearful state, because what's unfamiliar is really, really scary, right? So think about learning to ride a bike. The first time you did it, it was really, really scary, but eventually you learned how to do it, you acquired the skill, and then you mastered it, and now when you ride a bike, you don't even have to think about it. So this whole process of changing your beliefs from negative beliefs to positive ones is all about learning the skill and then mastering it and then making it a habit so that you don't even have to think about it anymore. So I want to go over the 4 stages of learning with you guys. So the 4 stages of learning I have on this right side right here. So the first step in the first stage of learning is unconscious incompetence. The second is unconscious competence. Third is conscious incompetence, and fourth is conscious competence. So what do all of these fancy words mean? When you're trying to learn a new skill, there's the stages that we have to go through from beginner to master, right? So in the first stage, where it's unconscious incompetence, you're not even aware that you need to have this skill. It's not something that you even thought about, and you don't know about it, basically. In the second step, this is when you're aware that you don't have the skill and you're kind of like curious about it. Like you're starting to think, okay, maybe I need to learn this skill for whatever reason it is. And in the third stage, it's conscious incompetence. This is where we learn the skill and we start to build confidence within ourselves and the skill. And fourth is conscious competence. This is when we mastered the skill, we know it, and it's a habit. We don't even have to think about it, and this is where it's like really easy and automatic. And so why is the stages important, and how does it relate to your beliefs? It's because you have to go through these steps in order to make it automatic. So it takes time to really build those positive beliefs, but it's something that you have to work on every day. And I know that you're going to make that commitment because it's something that you want in your life. You want to make this positive change, and you want to start living the life that you're meant to be living, right? So the most important thing that we want to make familiar is praise. A lot of us like to bash ourselves all the time and talk negatively to ourselves all the time. I know what it's like, and I still have those moments of weakness where I go down that rabbit hole. We do need to master the skill of praising ourselves, because if you think about it, think about one of your best friends or a family member, or maybe you have like a niece or a nephew that you really love. Like imagine all of the things that you are saying to yourself. Would you say those words to your loved ones or your friends or someone that you really care about? And if the answer, think about the answer for a minute, because I think this is really important, that the dialogue that we have with ourselves should be something that is loving and caring, instead of what we normally feed ourselves, which is something negative and something that really damages our self-esteem. So if you wouldn't say this to someone you love, why are you saying it to yourself all the time? Yeah, I know it's one of those questions where it's like, okay, I mean, I do this all the time, but it's just knowing that you can shift out of that at any moment is what is really empowering. And maybe you haven't done this before and this is still new to you, but it is a skill that you can develop and practice, and that's the most important thing, is that you're willing to do it. I know that it's easy to fall into the negative thoughts and to beat yourself up for when things don't go right, but what if you could just witness whatever situation it is, take a step back and ask yourself, what did I learn from the situation? And then in turn, instead, praise yourself for it, The other day I had a really bad day, and I had one of those moments where I ended up just getting into a really negative thought pattern, and I was going in the circle, going, and then, I started to build up all of this negative energy around myself, and then I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to let these thoughts invade my life. There's no room for them because they are not serving me. And so that's what you have to do with yourself. The first step is awareness. So sometimes when we're in the thought and when we're in it, we're emotionally attached to it, and we're emotionally driven. So we're kind of just like in it, and we're not aware of it. So first you have to be aware of it, and sometimes it takes a couple minutes for you to be like, okay, what am I doing? Like, I've spent the last 20 minutes just beating myself up, and this is not working. So first step is all about awareness. Be aware that you are, saying all of these negative things to yourself. And so be a witness to these thoughts, and then, tell the thoughts, like, thank you for telling me what you're telling me. And I know you're just trying to protect me and keep me small, but I don't need you in my life. I choose not to accept you right now. And then reframe it into something empowering. That's exactly what I did. So I was in the middle of my negative thought cycle, and I was like, no, I refuse to accept these thoughts into my head right now. This is not serving me. I don't need you, and I'm going to change it into something more positive. So I started repeating my affirmations to myself, like, I'm powerful, I'm confident, I can do this, I'm going to have an amazing day. And honestly, when you do something like this, it's so empowering because you take back control and you take back your power. And that in itself is an amazing feeling. And the more that you practice this, the better you get at it. And not only do you want to make praise familiar, but you want to eradicate and banish any self-criticism in your life. Because when you do this, and you're not going to do it 100% perfectly. Obviously, there's going to be times in our lives where we are going to be very critical of ourselves, and sometimes it does help us. But if it's ruling your life and it's taking over your life, then it's not serving you. So eradicate the things that don't serve you and don't allow them to take over your life. I just want to end on a quote by Tony Robbins, and it's, knowledge is not power, knowledge is potential power. So now that you've done this webinar, you've hopefully gained a couple of different things from it, learned a couple of different skills that you can use and apply in your daily life. It's good that you know all of these things now, but what's really important is that you go out there and you actually utilize it and apply it in your life. So if we're just sitting around with this knowledge, we're not doing anything for ourselves. We're not helping ourselves. So it is really important for you to take action towards what you want. So I encourage you to get out there today, start doing some of the exercises, and hopefully it starts to shift your perception a little bit. I'm really excited that you're here, and I'm glad you made it to the end of the video. I'm really proud of you, and just want you to know that you are enough, and you always have been, and you always will be. So don't let these negative thoughts and beliefs take over your life. It's time for you to come back into your own power. So think about what that would look like if you were able to feed yourself positive thoughts all the time. Think about what it would look like if, you were confident in who you are, if you had high self-esteem, if you just really believed in yourself. What would life look like for you? So I'll end on that note, and I hope you guys have an incredible day, and I hope you learned a lot, and I'll talk to you soon.